It's awesome to see you. We're grateful you're here. We're glad for everyone who's catching us online today or who will watch us later on demand. We're going to get started, and we're going to get started big. So I'm going to ask you to stand up. We're going to wake up this morning. Yeah, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. It's been a while, but you guys should know this if you've been here for a minute. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? I see lightning, I hear thunder. Something stirring 6 feet under. Dead things coming back to life again. I believe there's about to be another resurrection. I see signs and I see wonders. I see birds of living color. Dead things coming back to life again. I believe there's about to be another resurrection. Let's sing this out. Come alive. Come alive. Wake up, sleeper. He is risen. We are risen with him. Are we going to sing hallelujah? Hallelujah, it is finished. See the grave, nobody in it. Dead things coming back to life again. I believe there's about to be another resurrection. Let's sing this out. Come alive. So come alive. Wake up, sleeper. He is risen. We are risen with paradise. From wide open. He is risen. We are risen with him. Here we go. If you see what I see, that the grave is empty, then you know what I know. Anything is possible. If you see what I see, that the grave is empty, then you know what I know. Anything is possible. Do you see what I see? Yeah. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? I see signs and I see wonders. Do you see what I see? I see lightning, I hear thunder. Do you see what I see? Something stirring 6 feet under. Sing this out. Come alive. Wake up, sleeper. He is risen. We are risen with him. Paradise, long wide open. He is risen. We are risen with him. That's how we start. You guys sound great. We're going to keep going.
There are walls between us. By the cross you came and broke them down. You broke is stronger. Your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater. Your love is stronger. Your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater. Your love is stronger. Your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater. Your love is stronger. Your love awakens, awakens, awakens me.
All right, so we have a song that might be new to most of you, and it's called God is on the Throne. And I just want to say that that sounds like it's a fact. First of all, he is on the throne. He reigns forevermore, right? But there's so much depth to that statement that God is on the throne. And this song is asking us to think about it. Like, what does that mean? Think about it. It doesn't just mean that he reigns, which he does, but it also means that because we are followers of him, we have peace. We have a source for strength. We have a source for grace and mercy, and we don't walk alone. So sometimes it can be a little cliche. You're going through a tough spot, and someone will say, it's okay because God is still on the throne. It is kind of cliche, but if you dig into that a little bit deeper, there's just so much there for us. So we're going to sing this. It's easy. You'll pick it up quickly, and it's a beautiful song. So I hope you sing with us.
God is on the throne. He reigns forevermore.
Before you sit down, oh yeah. I don't know how you do that keyboard thing where you hit all the keys at once, but let's pray together. God, it is real easy to say things like that you're on the throne, that you reign, that you're good. It's different for us to take that thinking and to apply it in all the different areas of our lives. You know how easy we get wrapped up. We get frustrated, we get angry. Anxiety can take over. We begin to see everything strictly from our own point of view. And this morning while we worship, help us to be recalibrated. Help us to remember who you are and whose we are. And there's not anything that you will allow to come into our lives that ultimately you won't use for good if we let you. There are people in our lives that are frustrating us, that are creating problems. There's issues about our work. We have health issues, finances. They're all kind of things that can get us wrapped around the axle. But you are good. You are powerful. You're our Father. And you will never, ever leave us high and dry. You'll never abandon us. You'll never forget about us or misuse us. So today, help us to remember that. And so the refrain in this song becomes something that really does mean something to us when we leave this place. In Christ's name, amen. You can have a seat. Oh, thanks.
I get it. Yeah.
Okay. So good morning. My name's Rusty. I'm the senior pastor here, and if you're here on campus or online, we're really glad you're here. There's a couple things. If you're a first-time guest and you're on campus, when you leave, you can go by guest services, which is a counter in the front, and we've got a gift bag for you. And don't worry, at the very bottom of it is some chocolate. So whatever you have to go through to get it, it's worth it. If you're at home, you have to go through your own cupboard. But our host will help you. They've got information for you about our church. And there's also a card in the seat back in front of you here. Our host can give that to you. If there's any way we can help you take a next step or answer questions, or if you have a prayer request or anything like that, just let us know. Those of us that are here, you can take those cards, and there are drop boxes in the side lobbies in the front. That's also where people put their offering to give on campus. Before I go into the message, I want to show you two pictures. This first one is from yesterday. We did this family fun day. We haven't done this in a while, and we had it was a lot of fun. Tons of candy was given out. The dentists are so happy. They're going to be able to buy that second vacation home now. We had 500 people, over 500 people that came, but we also had, and I love this, we had over 100 volunteers to pull it off, which is a huge deal. So if you were here, you saw it, and you see how things work, and it's fun to be able to do things in person. I'm really glad we do online. We've been doing that well before COVID, but there are things you miss if you're not face-to-face with people. So anyway, that was a huge home run. Let me show you this other picture. This is from last night. We have you can see up there Zaponic Farms. We have a partnership with them. It's Zaponic Farms they use hydroponic gardening to help create. They grow vegetables and stuff like this, and it's for young adults with special needs. They had a party last night. There were over 100 of them here dancing their heads off, having a great time. And it's just, again, there are some things that we get to do as a church that are just a lot of fun, and it really matters. So those of you that are part of it, thank you. We'll continue to keep you updated on stuff like that. We're starting this series. We're calling it Lifehacks. It's kind of like finding shortcuts or workarounds. Most of us are trying to figure out, how can I make my life easier and still have all the good stuff? The truth is, there are some things that you can do to make your life easier. There's some also things that we try to do, and we think it's a shortcut. We think it's going to work, and it just makes life worse. We've ended up cutting out some things that were really, really important. So we're going to be looking at this together. The first one we're doing this week is trying to hack friendships. I'd like to have a lot of friends, but I don't want it to be difficult. And I've tried it with some of you, and you're kind of a pain. I need to find a better pool to search from. I mean, this happens all over. I'm going to give you some statistics here. They've done some recent research. The New York Times had an article this past week all about basically they came up with the premises that for a few years now, several years now, friendships have been on decline, and it's much worse in the United States than it's been in a long time. And it's not because of the pandemic. Pandemic made things more difficult, but we were already in this decline of friendships. Gallup did a survey in 1990, and at that point, 3% of Americans said they had no close friends. 32 years later, 12% of Americans say they have no close friends. So that means more than 1 in 10 of us here have no close friends, if we're average. Psychology Today ran several articles on this, and they were going through some data from a research that had done recently, and this is what they came up with. Of the 30 to 49-year-old segment of our population, 13% of women and 8% of men have lost touch with most of their friends. And you look around, you don't necessarily see that, but this is what they're self-reporting about where they really are in their life. And there's a difference between an acquaintance and a friend. An acquaintance is someone you kind of know, and it might be situational. I mean, you know their name. You might know that they have a dog or a ferret or whatever they have. But friends are people where there's mutual trust. There can be different levels, of course, but the difference between an acquaintance and a friend is this mutuality of trust. And the Psychology Today and other groups they've been able to chronicle this, that having close friends is a huge benefit to us physically, emotionally, in all other kind of aspects of our life. The more close friends I have, the better off I'm going to be in every metric you can look at in my life. We can't ignore that. I mean, the data has been around for a long time, and it explains this lessening of our having friendships explains a lot of the dysfunction we're surrounded by in our country, where we've got anger, hatred, all kind of ugliness that goes on, and then isolation, anxiety, fear. People are distant, and then I wonder what that person thinks about me. I wonder what's going on, and it just creates this atmosphere that is really toxic. There was a survey that's done by the American Perspective Survey, and this is a few highlights from that. And I encourage you to do some research on this too. 47%, almost half of Americans, have lost touch with at least a few close friends in the last 12 months. And you know this is true. I'm basically stating some of the obvious. 10% of Americans say they've lost touch with almost all of their close friends. That they're gone for whatever reason. Young adults, 56% say they have made a new friend in the last 12 months. Senior adults, 2/3 have said they haven't made friends and they've lost some. Some of that has to do with a variety of aspects, especially when it comes to work. Most of us, this is where we make and have our closest friends is through our work. We don't like to admit that, but it's true. And what's happened is now we're working a lot more hybrid or remote. And so I'm not going to, I can get to know someone's screen face and some of their personality, but I'm not going to get to know them well. Because with the screen time, you're always having to schedule it. And the thing about relationships, a lot of time there are those things you don't get to schedule. We used to have a virtual office here for the first several years of our church. Virtual office. I loved it. I'm an introvert. We ended up being convinced to get our own space, and it changed dynamics considerably, because instead of always having scheduled time, there was that kind of unplanned time where you had these times where you connect with each other. And, oh, that's a great idea. There were things that, I mean, Real-time relationships, face-to-face, are kind of messy, but in that mess, a whole lot of things come up that you can't replace otherwise. When it talks of, the workplace is the number one place people are making friends. In church, only 1 in 5 Americans say they've made a close friend at their place of worship. I personally see a problem with that, and I think we've got a lot of work to do. Half of Americans have 3 or less close friends. 3 or less. And women are outstripping men in this substantially. Women use their friendships to connect emotionally. Guys connect with friends to talk about sports or cars or hunting or shoes, anything but personal stuff. Shame on us when we do that, but it's kind of the way, partly it's how we're wired, but we need to go against how we're wired for us to be healthy and strong and whole. During this last series we did called Rooted, we really promoted small groups, and a lot of people we started new groups. We had people join some existing groups, and there was a guy in our group that came, and I have his permission to read this. I'm going to change his name to Edgar, so if you're Edgar, I know you didn't write this, but he gave me permission to say, this is what he said. He goes, I want to thank you and Steve. Steve and I co-lead a Wednesday morning 6 a.m. group. I want to thank you for all you do. He goes, I now see it as a tremendous gathering of men, and I sadly have never been part of anything like it to date. I need it badly, especially right now. That means the world to me that he's found something that a lot of us guys, we tend to stay more private about things that we need to be willing to be more open about. All of us have blind spots. All of us have areas in our life that we think we're doing fine, and we may or may not be, but what close friends can do is help us confirm or to adjust. People with more close friends report over and over again that they are much happier with their life. They're much more satisfied with who they are, regardless of their financial situation in life. I'll give this last part, and just stick with me before you jump on my case. 22% of Americans have lost a close friend or more, at least one close friend, related to how people respond to Donald Trump. Don't do anything yet. Please just stick with me for a minute. That's whether you're pro-Trump or against him. That when his name comes up, and however people respond, over 1/5 of our country has lost friendships over that issue. What does that say about us? And don't go blaming the former president. This is about us. We have gotten so easily divided. And we can pick something. I mean, I saw that bumper sticker on their car. I'm not going to have anything to do with them. That is stupid. No, it is stupid. I won't take that back. And there's something we've bought into, and especially among those of us that are followers of Jesus. We can do better than this. And if we want to know why our country's so polarized, so 22% of our country have lost a close friend or more because of how they respond to or react to Donald Trump. It goes back to a political kind of bent that we have. And most people have friendships within their certain particular echo chamber. You talk to people, and they don't have a friend that believes that voted for the other people or the other group. What's wrong with that? How would you ever have a change in a country or an organization if everyone that you associate with has to think exactly the same? How are we going to ever be a positive influence if that's what we do? Echo chambers, all they do is make us comfortable in the moment. But they don't really affect healthy kind of environments and give and take and change that we need to have. So if you're angry about any of that, you can text me and that's fine. Let me make up a number real quick. It's 804. But please understand this. we need to own how we're relating to others. And in this idea of trying to hack friendships, there are shortcuts we take that they just don't work. And you're going to see this in a minute. I'm going to give you a few things. Anyway, in Proverbs 18, it said, friends come and friends go, but a true friend sticks to you like family. And this means healthy family, by the way. You know what it's like. You have people that come and go, but there's some friends that you can weather a lot with and together. But if you take shortcuts, that's not going to happen. Here's some of the shortcuts that I'm aware of. One is to build friendships on just feel-good kind of stuff. Kind of the first date mentality. First date, everyone smells good, sounds good, all the jokes are really extra funny. You don't bring up anything difficult because you're hoping what? To get a second date. But relationships can't survive on that. It's this whole idea of everything's got to kind of be going okay, and it's driven by emotion rather than something deeper. And again, initially I get it. Like I've got this bag. We have so many bags at our house. I got hundreds of Wegmans bags, and apparently this is a TJ Maxx bag, and they like pandas. There's not a panda in here. Becky and I go camping, and we like to start campfires. And the Washington Post works perfect for that. And I read the Post, I read other newspapers too. I'm not making fun of the Post. But you wad up the Post, and it's great for starting a fire. But you're never going to cook a hot dog over it. You don't have that much paper. It starts like this, but it's not sustainable. What you need is you start it that way, and then you've got to come up with something more substantive. Friendships that are just this kind of surface level, feel-good, emotional stuff, they can start off fine, but there's nothing lasting to it. So we really need to be careful, and it's a lot harder to light one of those logs than it is the paper. But the log's what's going to be, it's going to keep you going. Some of us, we build relationships on negative common ground. You get around someone, maybe you see a bumper sticker, a shirt they're wearing, or a hat, or something comes up, and immediately you start ragging on whoever you want to rag on. Oh, yeah. And we like that. We like pointing out faults in other people. We're much more comfortable with that than the reverse. And so some of you got friendships, and all you ever do is just rag on whoever you want to. It could be the boss, could be a neighbor, the neighbor with a really loud dog, or the car that doesn't have any mufflers, or it could be the president, whoever you want to. The problem with that is that's not sustainable either. And if it's a relationship is just built on the negative stuff, eventually it's going to either self-defeat or it's going to be turned on you. Some of you have friends and all you ever do is gossip about other people. First of all, and gossip is, the definition of gossip is when you're talking about someone negatively behind their back. Instead of going to the person, you go to someone else that's going to make you feel good about, because we can rag on somebody. The thing is, if someone will gossip to you, they will gossip about you. The negative part comes up sometimes, but it's not sustainable for decent friendships. Another thing we do in friendships is we have dishonest communication. Not necessarily lying, but just not being really truthful about things. Like we hide certain things about us because, well, we don't want to, I don't want to look like a goofball. I don't want someone to think badly of me, so I'll just be quiet. And what happens is you're kind of going along with some things where if you had a voice, and in a healthy, humble, honest way, you can be authentic without being ugly or mean-spirited. But what happens, the longer I go without being honest, the harder it is to ever step up and be honest. And so now I've got a friendship. I don't really trust the person. We think we're kind of getting along, but it's not built on anything very real. And then another one is, and this is a real killer, is when I'm looking for relationships and friendships, it's all about me. What am I going to get out of it? And you've done this sometimes. I know you've started a friendship with someone. You did something nice for them, and they didn't do anything back. I don't have anything to do with them. They're losers. And what happens is we constantly, and that's why people change jobs. They change neighborhoods. They change countries because they're trying to find good people because everyone else seems to have great friends but you. The thing is you're just self-centered. there's a better way. And that's what we're going to focus on here. Here's a statement. I'm going to read it twice. But true friendship is built on, it's built over time. So it's not going to happen immediately, kind of like the paper here. It starts immediately, but it's not sustainable. You've got to come up with a way over time to get the log lit. True friendship is built over time with generous portions of truth, understanding, grace, service, forgiveness, and patience. It's not a simple formula. These are just ingredients. And they're essential ingredients along the way. Let me read them again. Over time, with generous portions of these things: truth, understanding, grace, service, forgiveness, and patience. And without that, you're not going to build these kind of deep, lasting, impactful friendships. Instead of a friendship hack or a shortcut, the Bible gives us kind of a guideline for building friendships, and it's a simple one to hang on to. Listen to this. Jesus said this: here's a simple rule of thumb guide for behavior. Ask yourself what you want other people to do for you, then grab the initiative and do it for them. It goes on to say, if you add up all of God's law and the prophets, everything that's taught about relationships in the Bible, this is what you get. In other words, love your neighbor as yourself. And you do what you want done for you. You take the initiative and do it for others. If you want to be respected, start showing respect. You want to be understood, start asking questions and actually listening without grimacing. If you want people to be interested in you, start showing some genuine interest. If you want to be valued, you start valuing others in very practical kind of ways. Basically, if I want to have friends in my life, I've got to learn how to be one. If I'm not careful, what will happen is I'll immediately give up because I'm not getting what I want out of it. And to be pretty honest about this too, there are no perfect friendships. And if you found someone that would make a perfect friend, don't get to know them because you'll screw it up. All of us have got our faults, like that light right there. It really feels good not having it. I think I lost 2 of them. Friendships, they're fragile. Becky and I have been married for 40 plus years. We really like each other. We don't always get along. There are differences that we have, and we have to work through those differences, and that's fine. Good friendships will have failures and disagreements, but good friends work through those. They don't give up. They don't easily bail. Even best of friends struggle at times. And I'm going to give you an example, and I love this. One of the things I love about the Bible is that it really paints real pictures of people. It doesn't hide the fact that we're broken, we're fallible, and all this kind of thing. And so I want to read to you, this is from a letter to a church in Philippi. It's Eastern Europe. Paul and Silas and some of his team had gone and started a church there. They met a woman there named Lydia. Lydia was a very successful businesswoman. She became a follower of Christ. The church started in her home. There were a lot of prominent women that were part of the church there, and 2 that are going to be mentioned in this letter. And understand this, that when these letters were written, Paul was in prison. He wrote to the church that he had started, and he really wanted to help them grow in their faith. They didn't have the Bible like we do. And he didn't know what he was writing was going to become the Bible. These are letters that were sent, so he would send this letter to the church at Philippi. They would take it, they would read it, they would hear it read over and over again. They would memorize all of it. They would maybe select portions of it so they make sure they had it. Then they would pass it on to other churches. Paul's writing this letter, and then he says this. Now, near the end of the letter, he goes, "Now I appeal to Euodia and Syntyche." And I'm sure these are 2 women, prominent women in the church. I'm sure they're thinking, oh, this is great. Paul's mentioning this in the letter. He's going to say how wonderful we were. What great partners we've been with him in ministry. And that's not what he says. And this is being read to a group like us. Please, because you belong to the Lord, settle your disagreement. It has become public. When leaders screw up, it passes on quickly. And I ask you, my true partner, who he's writing to here, he said, to help these 2 women, for they worked hard with me in telling others the good news. They worked along with Clement and the rest of my co-workers whose names are written in the book of life. These are prominent women in the church. They have been impact players. They were known as leaders. But they had this disagreement, and it was so big of a disagreement, it was creating division in the church. So much that Paul hears about it, and he's got to write and challenge them to correct it. And he's doing it in a public way, not to shame them, but because it's that important. When leaders take liberty, followers take license. When leaders do something like this, then it becomes standard operating for everybody else. And leaders should set a standard in relationships and humility and working through this kind of thing. And shame on us when we don't, whether it's in the church, whether it's in work, whether it's families, whether it's a neighborhood. Can you imagine if a letter like that were written to us today? And the writer knew the status of some of your relationships right now. I'm going to give you some examples. Right now, would you be mentioned because, and I'll give you some ideas here, you've been offended by a friend, and so you turn around and blasted them to everyone you can. Social media, every venue you had, you put them in their place. You would be being corrected right now. Maybe you felt left out. You weren't respected or appreciated, so you've ghosted people and they're just gone. And they don't have any idea why. Maybe you've been hurt, felt betrayed. And so what happens now is you're just living this isolated kind of life. You might be around people, but you're not going to let anyone get to know you because you will not get hurt again. I'm going to tell you, there's always a risk in building friendships. But isolating shouldn't be an option for those of us that know Christ. Maybe you've done something wrong, but you're way too proud to admit it and ask forgiveness. And you know what we do with that is, well, I was wrong, but they made me do it. They're worse than I am, instead of owning it. Or maybe someone's asked you to forgive them and you're not willing to. Your pride is just too strong. And it could be letting political differences create a barrier. And instead of being willing to go over that divide to get to know someone and not let that be the only thing you know about them, you just quit. The stakes are really high when it comes to friendship. Parents, your kids are constantly watching you at every age and every stage you're in. They're watching you to see how this friendship thing works. They're watching and they're picking up all kind of clues. They hear those kind of comments you make, or when someone's texted you or emailed or called and they see the look on your face. They hear what you say about someone behind their back. They're picking up all these things about friendships. What are they learning? What are we teaching? Are we willing to work through the problems, or are we just going to give up and say, to heck with it? What kind of friend are we in our community, in our work, in our neighborhoods? We've got an opportunity to show something good, and we need to learn how to do it. The stakes are really, really high. So I want to give a few key ingredients for building friendships. There's not a recipe here. There's just some things to hold on to. And there's a take-home sheet. When you leave today, you can get these outside each of the hallways, or you can get it on your app. And I hope that sometime today over a meal, you can do this as families. There's nothing secret about any of this. You could do it in a small group later this week, or find a couple of friends and say, let's chew on this. How are we doing? How is the status of our friendship? Just a few guidelines for each of us personally, but also, in that letter Paul had about Euodia and Syntyche, he asked someone, he said, would you step in and help them? Some of us have got friends that just will not even tolerate being in the same presence with each other. You and I can help broker potentially to build some peace and some healing. Here's some things that will help do that. Listen to this, Philippians 2. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble. Thinking of others is better than yourselves. This is all, each of us are to hold on to this. Don't look out only for your own interest, but take an interest in others too. You must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had. If Jesus treated you the way you do some of your friends, where would that put you and me? He's gracious, he's kind, he tells the truth, but he doesn't ever aimed to harm us. He's trying to build something. Here are a few other things. Don't just pretend to love others. Really love them. Hate what is wrong. Hold tightly to what is good. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. It doesn't say take delight in honoring people that honor you. Take delight in honoring each other. Never pay back evil with more evil. Do things in such a way that everyone can see you are honorable. Do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. Do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. That's even Democrats and Republicans. There's a motto that we use here at New Hope that we try to live by, and that is believe the best and inspect the rest. Believe the best intentions of someone else, and if you can't get by, something's happened, it doesn't make sense, either the absence of something or something has happened, then you go and inspect it. Go ask them. Say, it seems like something's not right between us. I can go to Jim Morgan and say, Jim, is something wrong? Have I offended you, or is there something happening here? Clear it up. I don't go to someone else and say, boy, Jim's kind of a jerk. Believe the best. If there's something that you can't quite get over, go ask and humbly listen. Here's one. This is a verse a lot of men like. Iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens another. Oh, yeah. I like that one. I want to get a T-shirt and a poster that says, iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. Yeah, it's a great verse, but we hate it, especially if we're the one being sharpened. If you've ever sharpened the knife doesn't enjoy it. The sharpening stick doesn't mind because it's creating all the friction. But being sharpened is no fun. The result is excellent. But good friendships are going to weather some things, and they're going to go through some tough times. Good friendships help me see blind spots that I'm unaware of. A good friend will care about me enough to point something out I need to see, not because I'm going to enjoy hearing it, but because I'll enjoy the result of having changed as a result of it. Being sharpened is great. It is just not a fun process. At a time where we live right now, where emotions run hot, it's easy to be angry. There's all kind of hostility. Listen to this. I would love to get this tattooed on everyone's, including my eyelids, so every time I blink, I see this one. Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters, you must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Human anger does not produce the righteousness God desires. We live in a very angry culture. Half of our TV shows, maybe more, would be off if anger wasn't the key ingredient. And we buy into it, we begin replicating that. I need to be quick to listen and understand where someone else is coming. I need to be very careful about when I open my mouth. It needs to be after I've thought and prayed and considered something. And that will help reduce my anger. Because if I just go with my emotions immediately, I can flare up and create even more harm. Proverbs 27, wounds from a friend can be trusted. True friends will be honest with us. If you don't have a friend that has ever said anything that you didn't like, you may be more acquaintances than really close friends. A true friend cares enough that they will say something. They'll do it not arrogantly, not in some kind of, I'm holier than you, but they love us enough to say something that we need to hear. And we need it. And you and I ought to be inviting our friends and our family. Say, look, if you see something in my life, if you see an attitude or an action or something in me that's out of place, I'm giving you permission to come say something to me. Do it kindly. If you're arrogant, I'm going to blow up at, well, I'm not going to say that part, but but just give people permission. What's wrong with trying to become better? And always, when we're doing that, we always need to speak the truth in love. It has to be both of those. If it's just truth, it's brutal and mean. If it's just love, it's syrupy and sentimental. I need to have both of those together. And then this last verse. Most important of all, it says here in 1 Peter, continue to show deep love for each other, for love covers a multitude of sins. Who of us doesn't need that? Friendships reveal all kind of stuff in us. People see us. They see our strengths and our weaknesses. And if I'm going to love the people around me, people in my sphere of influence, there are times when I'm going to have to overlook some things. And occasionally I'm going to point something out. Not because I've got it all together, of course not. But because we love each other. And I'm going to be willing to forgive. I'm going to be willing to invest in them. And if you and I do that well, it'll be mutual. One of the things I love about having small groups here at our church and our ministry teams is you get a chance to start some relationships. None of you made a great relationship this morning in this service. You don't do that when you're sitting and listening to somebody. You do it when you're working together and serving together, praying together, when you're involved in stuff. After the service, I had someone last service, and the assignment was, I said, when the service is over, what do we normally do? I go to get my beverage, and I go find someone I know. Because I'm comfortable with it. My challenge is, for the first 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes after the service, go to someone you don't know. Introduce yourself. Say, hi, I'm Molly. Now, if you're not Molly, well, you use whatever name you want to. But just say, hi, how are you doing? Go to someone you don't know, because Americans right now are really hurting friendship-wise. And some of us won't do this because, I feel awkward. What if I've met them before and I don't remember their name? Or what if I'm nervous. I'm just going to get a Diet Coke and sit by myself. If we can take a little bit of initiative, it can go a long way. And it doesn't take a lot to do it. Here's the bonus. Holidays are coming. Why don't you have a party? Have a dinner party. Have a hot dog. It doesn't have to be expensive. Have a hot dog party. I don't know what you do. Watch Hallmark movies if you want to. Whatever. But invite some friends from church, friends from your work, friends from your community. Here's the deal that Becky and I will make. If you're having a party and you're really hurting for food, we'll make bread and give it to you. Homemade bread. If you're really hurting for friends and we have time, we'll join your party. But if you and I will take some initiative, we can broker some things that are really needed. It's not someone else's responsibility. It's mine and yours. I'm going to invite the band to come out. I'm going to give a couple more things, and then we're going to close with a song. Please get the take-home sheet and work through that. You can do that individually, do it as a family, do it with friends, but I really encourage you. This is one of those things you will not regret the time you spend doing it. We have, if you look at all the events we have going on, we have our mobile pack coming up in 3 weeks. This is a great time to invite people to begin to be a part of something. You know, there's so many things that go on in our country right now where people just do a lot of talking and whining. This is one of those things we can hands-on do something that's going to make a difference. We're going to pack meals. 400,000 meals are going to be packed and shipped, and they're going to go where it's going to make a world of difference, where people are starving to death. You and I get to do something about it. Invite some people to come with you. Get a whole group together. This is a chance for us to do something that makes a difference. There's not any strings attached. There's no politics involved in it. There's no ideology. It's just there are people that are in need. We get to do something about it together. I want to thank everyone, too, for this has been a staff appreciation month. I want to thank Jenny Herzog for kind of running with it. I mean, a lot of you have expressed appreciation for our staff, and, I mean, we love being part of this church, so thank you for that. When you leave, if you haven't gotten one of these, an email, this is our partnership perspective. We do one of these every quarter. I really want to encourage you to get it and use it for two things. One is a prayer guide. You're seeing the different things that you and I have been a part of, either directly or indirectly, and be praying about what we're doing the rest of this, the end of this year. And then also, if you would use it as a guide for thinking about your giving. At New Hope, we will talk, and if you're a first-time guest, we don't care about you giving. This is for everyone else. We're not going to shame anybody about giving, but we're not going to be shy about telling you that we need your support. The church runs on a lot of things: volunteer service, prayer, but also you and I being faithful stewards of our finances. If you're already generously supporting, thank you. If you're not, start. It's not that hard. I don't know what any of you all give. I know what Becky and I do. And I know that you're giving. I don't know there's a better investment at all than Jesus Church. If you know of it, you should start. You give everything you can to that. But I want to tell you, we've got work to do, and we're going to do it together. We do it well. And if you give, you can do it online. We have drop boxes here. We don't take up the offering like we used to. We're not doing that yet. But please make this a priority, and let's see what we get to do together. Let's close out the end of the year strong. I'm going to pray, and I'm taking my panda with me. God, thank you for being our friend. Show us how we can do the same to others. In Christ's name, amen.
All right, we have one more song today. Don't Kill Me, but it's another new one. But it's super easy. And there's just too many good songs being written to not bring some new ones in. So I invite you to stand and sing this one with us.
That conquers all anxiety. Let it rise. Let praise arise. We sing your name in the dark and it changes everything. We sing with all we are and reclaim your victory. Let it rise. What heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise